thing to understand about that Tazewell County injunction, I know it's been covered in a lot of the media, is that Bland County is not named in that. The only locality that's named in that are the officials at Tazewell County. So that's why it doesn't affect us. And that's why Ms. Grady's giving you the information that she is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Okay, library.
Nothing this evening, sir.
Okay. School superintendent. Nope. Sheriff Department. You have anything to say, Mr. Steph?
No, sir. Glad to be here.
Okay, thanks for coming. We are this year. Thanks for coming. Treasurer, Mr. Kidd. Are you getting a lot of sleep?
No. Sleep is now very foreign to me. So if I blunder, I apologize. I'm sleep deprived. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I did want to pay you a visit and provide you an update with where we are on a few things. We did receive the payments for the auction that we had November 20th. Those were approved January 6th by the court. We received $41,013.76 in payments for tax, penalty, and interest. And we have started to see the recovering costs that we do pay up front for these services. We received a total of $4,087.22 in recovered costs. So we're starting to get in that cycle where we're starting to see the money flow back in, not just for the back taxes, but the costs that we pay up front as well. So I know they are working on another auction. I'm assuming it's going to be sometime this spring. I don't know how many properties there will be, but you can get a rough idea in your report that tax does provide us. If you look at the columns for the pre-litigation, non-judicial sale, litigation auction prep column, actually if you start at the litigation auction prep down, those are the ones that they're currently working on for the next sale. So it will be more properties. Very excited to get to that point. However, I do want to emphasize that property owners can redeem their properties up to the day of the sale. So we will see that fluctuate by the time we get to that day, whenever that is. A few numbers. For the fiscal year 26, we have released 176 DMV stops for a total of $108,834.42 for back taxes, penalty, and interest. Obviously, this is going to be a lot lower than last year when we were over 300,000, but that's because we were doing a lot of work on the back end. And once we clean that up, that number will go down, but we still have 124 stops that are active. We are going to be working on past due notices. Those will be mailed the 1st of March, something we do every year. I'm not calling them delinquent notices because apparently that's very aggressive. So they're past due notices to let people know their taxes are past due. As of the close of business yesterday, our collection rate on the 2025 real estate is 91.6%, and we've collected 88.1% of the personal property. Looking back at previous years, that does track pretty well, and I do imagine we will get close to or above the 96% that we are currently at for 2024, which is phenomenal for our county. That's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Kidd? Thank you. Okay, youth sports. Can I see Josh? Yes. Josh, you.
Thank you guys. Basketball's about to wind up. We've done really well for the county this season. We have a team playing in all 3 age groups for the championships tomorrow night at the Rec Center in Louisville. Still have to finish up my little kindergarten first grade clinic. Had soccer registrations last week, so we'll be playing outside by next week and looking ahead to it. So, what questions do you have for me?
No, but I did see we've got the championship games going on.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes.
great.
We've done, all teams done well this year, and we've competed.
How many different age divisions are there, boys and girls?
Right now, there's 3 age groups playing. There's 3 different age groups that play before Christmas.
Boys and girls.
Yeah, boys and girls. Yeah.
Okay.
2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and then 6th and 7th. So
We have a few home games at Village.
we had 3 Saturdays in a row, and we hosted last Saturday a full day of tournament games. So
Okay. Anybody else have any more questions?
Great job, man. Thank you.
thanks, Steve.
Okay. Now we public comment, Mr. Kessler.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, there will be a 3-minute time limit. Mr. Castle will keep the time limit for the public comments, that way we keep moving. And the first one to come up will be Mr. Dale Blankenship. Please come to the podium, Mr. Blankenship.
Dale Blankenship, Skydesky Road. My question is, and if you don't ask, you never know, if the board knows anything about any paving projects. Skydesky Road, 30 years ago when I bought the property, they was going to pave. That was what I was told. They was paving the road. And they did pave a piece of it, 9/10 of a mile, which is about a fifth of what's there. Is there any other plans for any more paving on that road?
We'll have a road meeting in what, April or May?
We will have an upcoming road meeting, and there is the secondary 6-year plan, and I believe portions of Skydesky are on the secondary 6-year plan. We'll be revisiting that very soon. If I could get some contact information from you, I'll be glad to reach out.
Yes. And you say that meeting's in April?
It's either April or May.
It's
We don't know
either
till
April or
they
May.
get in touch with us. They'll be here in April or May. They'll give us the propose what they're gonna do the next 6 years and everything. But usually a 6-year plan is usually about a 10 or 12-year plan.
Yeah, well, it must be about 30 because I've been like,
I don't remember them being on. It must take them off before I come on this morning.
it's been a long time. I've been waiting.
Okay, appreciate it, Mr. Blankenship.
Yes.
My grandfather had it on the 6-year plan in the 40s.
So it was more than a 30-year plan.
Hey, when I first came on, the Kim one had been on it for 20-some years, and they finally got it done about 10 years ago. So, all right, Miss Arlene Bridges.
I do have some pass outs for you here.
I'll take those, ma'am.
Okay.
Miss Burke, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And the reason I'm here is because of the reassessments that were done. I do have several questions. First of all, I need to know who actually picked this company that came in and did the reassessment for us. That's the first question. How many companies did they actually interview to do this job? And I was also told that we had to take the lowest bid. Is that correct? Does it have to be the lowest bid? So, they gave me two codes, Virginia codes, the 2.24302 and the 2.24318. And it's talking about taking a competitive sealed bid to the lowest responsive and responsible bid, not just the lowest price. And I've given you samples of that for you to look at. When I looked at this company that did our assessment, they were not Better Business Bureau accredited. That was one thing that kind of come to my attention. I like to always, work for a company. I always like to go to where I knew that these were good businesses. So I looked up the Wampler-Eanes Approval Group, and in your pamphlet there, you will see that it has a lot of complaints about them. Had disagreements with significantly increased property assessments and questions about appraisal accuracy and due diligence. So, and I even talked to Clint Kiefer when I came to the meeting, and I asked him about that. I showed him the paper. I said, I've looked you up and you don't look like you have a very good reputation on this. And of course, he really didn't know what to say about that. But, I know it's done now. I don't guess we can go back, have the appraisals redone again. First of all, how much did we pay this company to do this work? Does anybody know? I asked them and they said they couldn't tell me.
We might address that when you get done. You keep.
Okay. But, we just need to do a better job when we're going out for quotes. Make sure that we do have a reputable company in doing this. And I know 1,000 people came, talked to the assessment team. How about the elderly people that's in our community? We need to think about them. A lot of them can't get out, they can't get out to try to talk to them. So, and some of them just say, hey, it's already done, what can we do? Well, I'm here to say we need to do something. You know, this is ridiculous. My taxes went up almost 98%. You know, there were a lot of glitches in the system. I did talk to this gentleman also about the glitches. When I said the first one, which was like 6,000% increase, he's like, oh, I don't think we had any of that. But, you know, thank goodness for Facebook, I could pull it up and show him. He's like, oh yeah, we've had some glitches. So, how many glitches did they have?
Man, that's your time.
Okay, your time's up.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Would you like me to?
Yeah, go ahead and address a couple of these things right quick.
I can address a couple of these questions for you. There are 4 approved real estate assessors in the Commonwealth of Virginia. They're approved by the Commonwealth. Of those 4, we received 4 bids. Those bids were taken by Mount Rogers Planning District Commission. They vet those bids. Wampler and Eanes was the lowest credible bid, which is why we took that credible, meaning they met every criteria that the bid proposed. The charge was $26 per parcel, and it depends on how many parcels that actually are assessed. Our county is relatively small, so it's not as high. The cost for that, I believe, was $110,000 split between 2 fiscal years, FY24 and FY25. No, FY25 and FY26. Thank you. So that's the way it happens per the Code of Virginia when you're talking about a sealed bid. As far as the elderly not being able to make it out, we did have quite extensive phone conversations with the elderly folks in our community. There were phone call appointments. There were also mailed-in requests for help and emailed requests as well. So I know that the Commissioner's Office has done quite extensive work on the phone, chatting with people. And there were glitches, there were mistakes that were made, and most of those mistakes were caught and changed immediately. We are humans, and the assessors are also humans, and mistakes can be made. So a lot of those mistakes were corrected on site at that time. What else am I missing?
I'm going to tell you, right now they are doing Giles County, Pulaski County, Montgomery County, and Wythe County. And I've been going over some figures from other counties, and it looked like people who have been 5 years, their taxes have went up by 55%. We have went 6 years. Ours have gone up about 50. Ours will end up probably about 52% when the final everything's done. But the figures I've been looking at, if you've been 4 years, it looks like everybody's taxes have been going up about 40%. So it's been averaging about 10 for the last 3 years. About
By law,
10% a year.
we are required by the state to reassess property at least once every 6 years.
Yes.
Most localities do it every 4 years or every 2 years. I'm not certain how they afford to do that because it's expensive. I can tell you that in Smith County, it costs them the better part of $500,000 to do their reassessment. They do it once every 4 years. This is something that is a product of COVID. Our last reassessment was in 2019, and in 2020 when COVID hit, the housing market went crazy. The reassessors have informed us that likely when reassessment happens again in 6 years, we will not see this kind of a drastic impact. That this was largely related to the COVID pandemic. Thank you.
If you have any more questions, get to Ms. Burke. Hopefully she can answer for us. She don't, we're fine. Okay, next will be Todd Ingram.
Forgot what the rules are. I said my name and address?
Yes.
All right. Todd Ingram. I live over here on Jackson.
Okay, you have 3 minutes, Ms. Ingram.
All right. Regarding the special election, I mainly have a question. It's my understanding that the date, the early voting, is illegal and in violation of Virginia's Constitution. So that's my first question. Unless something has come from the court ruling in the last 4 or 5 hours, it's my understanding it's both illegal and a violation of the Constitution of the state of Virginia. Yes or no?
We'll find out.
I
We'll find
can't
out.
answer that question. I'm going to defer.
So what is pending currently is a ruling out of the Circuit Court of Tazewell County, as I explained earlier. And so that was a preliminary injunction that was granted. And it was granted against particular persons. The only local government officials that were included in that were the Tazewell County officials. So that ruling only applies to the Tazewell County officials. Bland County wasn't named in that.
Understand.
Understand.
There are 4 or 5 other counties, including as far north as Spotsylvania, that are also filing legally.
And so if there comes down a ruling that affects Bland County, at that time it will be done. That hasn't happened yet. There hasn't been a ruling that affects Bland County with regard to a finding with regard to the constitutionality.
So follow my logic with me just here for a moment, if you indulge me for a moment. If it's illegal and in violation of the Virginia Constitution, who is our champion from Bland County to make sure to protect us from being disenfranchised by the people of Northern Virginia and Richmond?
Any more questions?
That's it.
Thank you. Okay, that's all on public comments. Okay, lost my page. Ms. Burton, we'll have
Presentations.
a presentation. Yep. This will be Corbin Stone from our financial report.
Do you have, I'll hand those out.
He's
I've already.
He's getting those.
Thank you so much.
It's our audit report.
Get your audited financial statements, and I noticed that at your desk you all have a copy of the actual audit report, which is, I think, about 100 and some pages, well, 129 pages long. So we'll go over the cliff notes, which is that thing that says presentation in front of you.
Okay.
If you flip to page 2 of that, hopefully everybody's got that in front of them. You'll see we kind of go over the opinions on the financial statements, and you really have 3 opinions in the actual report. The first one is the auditor's report on the financial statements. And you received an unmodified, or what we call an unqualified, which means we believe the financial statements are materially correct. The second one is report on compliance and other matters, called the Yellow Book opinion. And we had 2 internal control findings in that opinion. One was just a segregation of duties finding, which basically says you've got people wearing a lot of hats. In a large locality, you might have a finance director and an accounts payable clerk and a payroll clerk, and they never actually perform each other's jobs. But here, you've got a lot of people wearing a lot of different hats. And then we had a few adjusting entries this year, and wherever we have a material adjusting entry to the books, it gets reported in the back of the bound document, the bound financial report. We really didn't have that many. Overall, I was pretty pleased. We didn't have that many adjustments, but we had 1 or 2 larger adjustments. They didn't deal with cash. They dealt with receivables or payables, so there was no issues with the bank reconciliations or anything like that. Then finally, on page 122 of that large document, you have your report on federal compliance with grants that we kind of randomly select and audit. No findings there, so we found that you complied with those federal grant requirements for the grants that were selected this year. The next couple pages, pages 3 through 5, is our letter to those charged with governance. And it's a required letter. If we had problems during the audit, we would report them to you here. We did not. So you got the boilerplate letter. We do tell you about some of the significant estimates in the financial statements. For instance, your VRS pension liabilities. We ultimately don't know how long someone's going to be in the system and receive payments under their retirement. So we have to use estimates of what those future liabilities are going to be. But we do talk about the major estimates in the financial statements in this letter, just so you realize there are some liabilities that have to be estimated in the financial statements. And then if you will flip to page 8, and we'll talk about some of the numbers, because we've gotten over the narrative stuff. At the top of page 8, you see the condensed statement of net position governmental activities. That is taking all the assets of Bland County, subtracting all the liabilities. When you see deferred outflows and deferred inflows, just treat those as assets and liabilities. And down below, you can see net position. So the total net position of Bland County at the end of fiscal year 25, was $11.8 million. Of that, $7.4 million was unrestricted. Now, again, this takes all assets, including this building, the depreciated value of this building. So it's our best guess, if we were to sell everything, about what the county itself would be worth, not including the school board. Again, this building's being depreciated, so the value may actually be higher than what we got it on the books for. Below that, we show the governmental funds condensed balance sheet. And what that is a short-term view of the county's finances, excluding long-term assets and long-term liabilities. I talked a little bit earlier about your VRS liability. It's not included here. But your assets like this building aren't included either. So as far as the condensed balance sheet goes for governmental funds, your ending fund balance, just under $9.4 million. That's kind of your working capital way of looking at this. The unassigned was $5.7 million. So total fund balance as a percent of expenditures last year, 38%. Total unassigned fund balance as a percent of expenditures was about 23%. So that's a pretty healthy fund balance. We would say Blaine County's in good shape financially based on that and some other information I'll show you shortly. We are starting to see some localities fall off a little bit. We're starting to see fund balances drop. We're starting to see a little bit of struggle with other local taxes or sales tax that are generated. But Blaine County held up pretty well in 2025, and you have healthy balances. The next page, page 9, I'm going over the Service Authority's financial statements, which are included in your bound document. And you can see their net position was $9.1 million. The net investment in capital assets, that's all the assets of that system, minus any liabilities against those assets, bonds payable, loans payable, were $8.5 million, restricted $300,000, and unrestricted about $200,000. Slight decrease in the overall net position. You can see just slowly trending down, likely because we're depreciating those assets. So typically water and sewer assets get depreciated over 30 or 40 years. The next page, page 10, I just kind of show you how your revenues and expenditures have been growing over time. This is just the general fund. You can see property taxes have grown at an annualized rate of about 4%, just below 4%. Overall revenues have grown at an annualized rate of about 7.8%, and the bulk of that's really been driven by intergovernmental revenues, which are state and federal aid. We do expect federal aid to slow down a little bit. They've got a little bit of a budget deficit, so we do expect over the next 5 or 10 years that federal aid will start to slack up a little bit. And that's actually what we saw after 2008, after the Great Recession. We saw federal aid really slow down. Then we had a ramp up with the COVID. But we would expect that to moderate going forward. Total expenditures have been growing at an annualized rate of about 4.7%. That's slightly below inflation for this time period. Inflation was about 4.95%, I believe, for that same time period. And then down at the bottom, you can see ending fund balance as percent, and that's total fund balance of operating expenditures when we consider not only the county's expenditures, but the school board. It's at 38%, and ending cash balances were at 32%. Again, healthy balances. On page 11, I'm just giving you a chart to show you the breakdown of where your money's coming from and where it's going. And I compare 2025 and 2021. Surprisingly, in most places, you can see for fiscal year 25, about 37% of your revenue was generated by general property taxes. Back in 21, it was about 44%. Surprisingly, we're seeing that go kind of the opposite way in a lot of localities. There's a greater reliance on local property taxes. But for Bland County, you actually relying a little bit less on general property taxes in 2025 than you were back in 2021. So that's just something that caught my eye as I was looking at it. It's going the other way in most places. Page 12, I just chart out the major revenue sources. And something that caught my eye and with the fines and forfeitures that over that second group in the minor revenue sources really jumped in 2025, and I think there's a camera program out on the interstate. So it was important to see that before I drove to Blaine County, because I kept it right at 70, and it dropped to 55, I was 55. So I was glad I looked over this before I showed up.
It says right here, you went up last year from $509,000 to 13. $1,318,000.
Exactly.
That's for the sheriff department, the clerk, the court, and the general general court.
Yes, sir. Yeah, really jumped.
Yes.
The other thing you can see on those major revenue sources, general property taxes, they're just stair-stepping up just a little bit each year. Other local taxes, that middle one there, you can almost see, and what we're seeing in most places is we kind of peaked in 2024 and we started to go down in 25, but actually here you had a slight increase in 2025. That's primarily going to be sales tax. But I would watch that next year. You may see that decrease a little bit. The next page, page 13, I'm just showing the same information except for your expenditures, where you're spending money. And of course, with like education, if you had a capital project or something, you might have sent more to them back in 21 than you did in 20, the subsequent years. But then it increased again in 2025. On page 14, I'm giving you the same information for the service authority. And you can kind of see that total revenue for the service authority in 2025 was just under $900,000. It's been growing at a pretty good rate, about 8.7% annualized rate. But the expenditures, those expenses, you can see they were $807,000 for operating expenditures, and the depreciation was another $700,000. So they are running at a deficit, but revenues are growing relative to expenditures. So I think that trend long term would have to continue so it can operate at a profit. And when you think about depreciation, you're spreading cost out. If you buy something today, depreciation is the way of spreading that cost out over the years of that asset's life. So you may buy a vehicle and depreciate it over 5 or 7 years, depending on how long you're going to use it. So. Then on page 15, I've got your debt summary. Basically, we aggregate all debt of the local government and compare that to the state averages. So you can see the blue line down there. On a per capita basis, your debt was about $2,868. The unweighted state average for counties last year was $4,113. So your debt per capita, and that includes pension obligations at the school board and pension obligations here, was below the state average. I use an unweighted average. If I used weighted, the places in Northern Virginia would drive the number so much higher. So every county is counted the same in this analysis. We don't weight it for those places that have higher populations. Total debt repayment was just over 1% of 1.5% basically of expenditures, total expenditures. I think I missed a couple pages here. So let me go back. I did. I will flip back to page 6 if you don't mind. I skipped right past that. We do have recommendations as part of the audit, so I want to go over one of those. You, of course, approve and appropriate the school board budget every year. All right, so this year, before any audit adjustments were made, the reported expenditures were about $14.3 million, and we had total appropriations of just over $14 million. So we were showing they overspent their budget by about $299,000. I would just let the school board know, let this county board know, you do control that total figure. So if they're going to exceed their budget, they need to come back before this board and ask for an appropriation, and make sure, a supplemental appropriation, and make sure they get it into their accounting software. So
make sure you tell them that when you do that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But a lot of people think you control that local transfer to the school board. You actually control the entire budget with the appropriations. A lot of county board members look at that local amount. It's the total expenditures. And the other two comments we had just weren't that significant, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over them. And then finally, I include the new accounting standards that your staff and your consulting accountants will have to implement next year. On pages 16, 17, and 18. I can tell people if you're having trouble sleeping tonight, these will help a lot. But I'd just like to include them so you do understand. These accounting standards are always changing, so how these reports are produced, it changes from year to year, just based on a kind of a national organization that oversees accounting standards. And so if you were to look at an audit report from 25, 30 years ago, probably about half the size it is today. So there's a lot of information in here that's been added over the years because of these changes. So, and I'll stop there and try to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? I will give one shout out to Mr. Kidd said back there. I look right here and said revenue from the money, from use of money and properties. It has went up about 400%, Mr. Kidd, since you got it. You've been investing our money greatly. Because on high interest, the interest have been high, and you've been helping us out on that whole lot. This past year, he brought in $376,000 on interest money. So thank you, Ed. Okay, that's it. Anybody else want to thank you?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time. And in that presentation, there is a letter in there that has my contact information on page 1, actually, down at the bottom. So if you do have questions, don't hesitate to send me an email or give me a call. Happy to. I work for the board, so don't hesitate to call me if you think I can help.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Next, we're going to have a presentation of Mount Roger Regional Partnership, Ms. Ashley Shrewsbury.
Mr. Chair and fellow members of the board, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight to give a short presentation. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashlyn Shrewsbury, and I'm the Executive Director for Mount Rogers Regional Partnership. We're the regional economic development organization that supports the counties of Witt, Smith, Bland, Carroll, Grayson, and the city of Galax. So in my presentation, I'm going to give a little organizational overview. I also want to talk a little bit about Pathway Regional Industrial Facilities Authority that Bland County is a member of. And then I want to go over a year in review from our last fiscal year and talk about some of the activities and projects we're working on in the current fiscal year. So our mission at Mount Rogers Regional Partnership is to support the creation of job opportunities, broaden the tax base, and improve the standard of living for our residents. And we work to do this through attracting and encouraging new businesses to locate and invest in the region, as well as assist our existing businesses with the creation and retention of jobs. We're a very small staff of 3.5, and we all wear a lot of hats. I serve as the executive director. I work on regional economic development planning, budgeting, grant sourcing, prospect management. I do lead generation and marketing for the region. And then I also serve as the executive director for PRIFA, which is Pathway Regional Industrial Facilities Authority, and BRCEDA, which is another regional industrial facilities authority. Our deputy director oversees our talent solutions programs. She also does our business retention expansion outreach and works on our investor coordination. Then we have a marketing and communications director and a part-time office administrator. So at our organization, our areas of focus are to grow and retain and attract jobs and capital investment, promote and communicate our regional assets, align our workforce development efforts with those of the business. We do that a lot through our BRE visits, as well as connecting our local schools and our community colleges with our existing industry. We provide leadership and economic development strategy and identify and initiate efforts to improve the business climate. Just a little information on how our prospects a lot of times come to be. So we do a lot of lead generation activities in-house. So I will go to trade shows or call trips to be able to market our region and our available sites and buildings. We also have consultants that will reach out to us, utilities, But the majority of our leads do come from the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. That is the state economic development organization. From there, they send the prospects down to the regional group, and then we filter them out to either the RIFAs or the IDAs or EDAs, and then down to our local governments. So, as I mentioned before, Pathway Regional Industrial Facilities Authority is a separate organization, and through my work with MERP, I'm contracted as the Executive Director for PRIFA. This is a regional industrial facilities authority that represents Bland County, Smith County, and Washington County. They are the owners of Pathway Park in Chilhowie. That is a 70-acre park down there. And I work on the project management for all of the requests for information and prospect opportunities for Pathway Park. I also oversee grant and project management for PRIFA and Pathway, and then provide the administration for the continued function of those organizations. So a look back at fiscal year 2025. I worked on the announcement for Plucked. That is a low carbon greenhouse at 65 acres. They located at Wildwood Commerce Park, which is off exit 19 on 77. That was almost $105 million in capital investment and over 118 new jobs. Our organization also worked to support the expansions of Dutchess Dairy in Wythe County, as well as Hitachi Energy, both right here in Bland County and in Smith County. So a look at some of our business engagement numbers from the last fiscal year. We helped support 238 new jobs creation, $128 million in capital investment. We generated 40 leads and contacts. 75 businesses were visited, and that doesn't just mean we visited these businesses one time. Some of these businesses may have required multiple visits in order to support them. And then we responded to 20 requests for information. Our Talent Solutions program is one of the highlights for our organization. So some of the program highlights from last fiscal year, we supported 293 high school students that were served through the Connect and Excellence programs that we operate. We had 35 businesses visited through the Mount Rogers Connect program, which includes here in Bland County as well. And 506 adults and students were served by the Crossroads and with Bland Career Fairs last year. One of our success stories that we like to talk about, we do manage the Twin County Manufacturing and Healthcare Excellence programs with those schools. And so we actually had a graduate from our 2025 public schools that was in our Manufacturing Excellence program in 2024, that because he was able to get into these industries, do these tours, see what the local industries had to offer. Once he graduated, he actually went to the one of the industries, which was Mohawk, and applied for a job, spoke with them, let them know that he had went through the excellence program and that he had toured their facility as part of this, and he is still working there today. And so we just wrapped up, I think, our third year of that, and so we're hoping to continue to see that trend. So our marketing and communications, we developed 2 new videos. They were for talent retention and for talent attraction, and so those can be found on our YouTube channel and on our social media website. We also had 7 press releases, 24 news stories, and our area development ad campaign generated over 30,000 views. A few special projects I wanted to mention. Economic development is a very long game. A lot of our localities, as you're aware, don't have a whole lot of money to purchase property and then to invest in getting the due diligence done and then to have that graded. And a lot of projects now that we're seeing, they want properties that are graded and ready to go. The utilities are to site. And so while we do have a few industrial parks that we are currently managing and marketing, as well as some available sites and buildings, we want to make sure that we're generating that pipeline to get those next phase of sites in there. So thanks to a grant from the Tobacco Commission as well as Go Virginia, we were able to get funds to do a regional site study. So we engaged Timmons Group, an engineering firm, to conduct this study to identify potential future industrial sites throughout the region. They looked at all 6 of our localities. They did a bunch of data collection and review. They worked with our localities GIS people. We also had stakeholder input from our internal stakeholders. And then from there, they were able to down select a list of top 10 sites that they feel were prime for the next phase of industrial development. This means that there's not a lot of grading required, that it's close to 4-lane roads, it's close to utilities already, and that those types of parcels are located in areas that would be prime for the next phase of industrial development. So we're glad to have that done and hope to continue to work with our localities to see if there are opportunities for purchasing any of these sites, either as individual localities or in more of a regional effort. Some other projects that we completed last fiscal year were Wildwood Site 1 due diligence and design work, and then Pathway Park site access improvements analysis. which was funded by a grant from ADP, and then Pathway Park Target Industrial Study, which looked at target industries for Pathway Park, and that was funded thanks to a grant from the Wellspring Foundation. So as I mentioned before, lead generation is one of the ways that I get out there and I market the region as a whole, our assets, as well as our available sites and buildings. So examples of that from last fiscal year were a call trip with our state organization focused on ag tech, a trade show attendance on lead generation, which was TPM 25, Select USA, which is a conference/trade show that is focused on attracting foreign and direct investment, so companies that are located outside of the U.S. that are looking to either relocate or expand to the U.S. And then we also hosted some familiarization tours and also did Legislative Day, which we also recently hosted as well, where we led a delegation of local leadership to Richmond to be able to meet with our local representatives to talk about local and regional priorities. So that wraps up our last fiscal year and some activities to date and looking ahead in this current fiscal year that I wanted to point out. We did a new sites video. This was to market our industrial parks, so Wildwood Commerce Park, Pathway Park, Progress Park, as well as some additional sites throughout the region, or some additional buildings throughout the region. We also were able to apply and get a new tobacco grant that we are using for marketing and lead generation. This grant did support the FDI certified community process that we underwent back in July, August of this past year. So we worked with a consulting firm and a group out of Germany that took a look at all of our assets for the region as a whole. They also came here and toured our region, and they were able to match up our assets with what companies out of Europe are looking for when they're looking to relocate to the U.S. or expand. And so after getting through that process, I'm happy to say that we were able to get our region as a whole certified as a foreign direct investment qualified community. We also had Pathway Park and Progress Park both qualified as FDI qualified sites. So this is just another thing in our toolbox so that we can market our region. We are the only locality in Virginia that has this designation, so that's exciting too, and we were able to get our certification at our annual conference. Some examples of community and advocacy events that we've done so far this year were the Celebrate Tourism Summit, the Southwest Virginia Alliance for Manufacturing Expo, the Business Success Symposium, and then some other projects and activities that we will continue to work on this year are to continue lead generation and marketing under our grant, continue to support our existing industries and retention and expansion efforts, prospect management on Site 1 at Wildwood. We will continue to work on alternate access at Pathway Park, and then continue to cultivate our investor relations. On that, we have developed a new investor model for our private investors. In the past, we just had one buy-in fee, and if somebody became a private investor in our organization, they had a board seat. We want to make sure that we are helping our private investors and that we are supporting them. So we went to a more tiered model so that we can work to attract new investment into our organization to continue to grow as well at our staff as well as our programs. And so we are very happy to say that we have attracted almost 6 new investors at this point, and we started with 6, so we've almost doubled just since we started this back in September, so that's exciting for us. And we are funded and supported from a mix of public and private entities, and so we want to continue to thank you for your continued support of our organization. Anytime we can be of service, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have now, or my contact information is at the end of the presentation, and Ms. Burton has it as well that she shared with you. Thank you.
Any questions? The next one thing is county administrator items. Ms. Burton.
Just to tag on to what Ashlyn was saying earlier, the gals at Mount Rogers Regional Partnership go above and beyond to help us market, not just in Bland County, but in the regional partnerships that we have, and they're doing some great work over there. I'm proud to be part of them. Okay, we're going to move on first to item number 6 that I have for you all, and it's always a pleasure when we get a chance to honor folks. And so this evening, we have the honor of celebrating the retirement of Elizabeth Johnson with a proclamation. You have a copy there for your perusal, and I'll be happy to read that unless you'd like to go ahead and make the motion first, and then I'll read it. All
We're doing a
right.
motion first, and then you can read it. We need a motion to adopt the proclamation for Miss Elizabeth Johnson for her years of service in 4-H.
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I will say this is one of the most proud ones I ever done.
I'll bet.
So, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, likewise. The ayes have it.
Ma'am, would you like to join us? I do have a proclamation here for you that I will read. A proclamation of the Bland County Board of Supervisors in recognition and appreciation of Elizabeth Johnson. Whereas it is the desire of the Bland County Board of Supervisors to acknowledge and recognize Elizabeth Johnson for her exemplary service and devotion to the citizens of Bland County, and whereas Ms. Johnson has, since 1993, served faithfully and effectively for the Virginia 4-H program, performing with efficiency and steadfastness. And whereas Ms. Johnson began her career with 4-H development on October 13, 2000, and whereas Ms. Johnson was appointed as Bland County Extension's Unit Coordinator in 2002, and whereas Ms. Johnson was promoted to 4-H Extension Agent in 2006, and whereas Ms. Johnson received her master's degree in Curriculum and Instruction from Virginia Tech in 2003, and whereas Ms. Johnson was named Bland County Citizen of the Year in 2013, and whereas Ms. Johnson was promoted to Senior Extension Agent in 2021, whereas Ms. Johnson has chaperoned countless 4-H interstate members traveling to various states and countries, and whereas Ms. Johnson is a member of Farm Bureau Women's Committee, Bland Fair Association, Big Walker Soil and Water Conservation, and faithfully serves her church family as Wasendock Church Chairman of the Board and Sunday School teacher. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Bland County Board of Supervisors and the citizens of Bland County declare with enormous gratitude and appreciation to Mrs. Elizabeth Johnson for her integrity, dedication, and noble service. Adopted this the 24th day of February, 2026 in the county of Bland, Virginia. Congratulations so much. I'd like to take a picture with the board. You want to come on down? Let's take a picture. Come on down. Let's take a picture, and I'll snap that. Right here in front. Be fine.
I will stand in front of this thing.
No. I know, you already got it. Steve. Thank you all.
You want to come up? Come up.
Come on.
Come on, Wendy.
Come on. Dada, come on.
Come on.
Come on. Oh, yeah, come on. Come on. Come on. Get in the picture. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on, baby.
Brett thought he was in church and he was just waiting for the songs. He was getting sporty back there, sitting on those pews.
Okay. What a great picture. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
The parents and the children.
It would not be an event that I'm at that I don't speak. So anyway, I've been in education for 32 years, 7 years teaching in the school systems here, and 25 years plus doing the 4-H program here in the county. And I've taught a lot of your kids and grandkids, and have some of my 4-Hers actually here that went to camp with me and have lots of tales they could probably tell, but I could tell on them also. So God has blessed me over the years to have a job, and you heard all of those different trips that we went, but I always said public speaking was probably one of my favorite things to teach kids, because you never know when you're going to have to get up and speak, like Mr. Kidd, Josh, and I know Tyler has to get up a lot when he's prosecuting those tickets and things. So anyway, it is an important skill. So it's always good to see how that they improve every year. the main thing is setting that foundation for kids today. And I know if my mother had not set foundations for me and got me to camp, I was a real introvert. Most people don't realize that. A real shy, backward kid. So she got me to camp, and I know that my career was due to her dedication. And also my family, and we'll give Randy a little credit of cooking lots of potatoes over the years. But anyway, my family, because, you know, it takes you away from home a lot. But I've had great team leaders over the years and adult volunteers and the school system to work with. So I've been very fortunate to have those great people to make my job a lot easier. So, and good staff at the extension office. So I thank you again for this honor. It's been a little strange being retired and not going out every day. So it was a pleasure to come out tonight. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and I'll cut it off in 3 minutes.
All right, board members, we'll move on and we'll get you out of here pretty quickly. We'll move on to item number 7. This is the request the board to accept the FY25 financial review. You've heard from Corbin Stone this evening on the financial audit. You will see that it is clean. And what I need from you is to accept it. Mr. Castle, is that correct, or is it an adoption?
Approved.
Approved.
Okay. A motion to accept the FY25 financial report as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Grosskreutz.
Yes.
Ms. Costello.
Yes.
Myself, yes. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, board members. We'll move on quickly to item number 8, to request the board to adopt a resolution ending the state of emergency for our last winter storm. We're finally at a place where we're past it, fingers crossed. So we need a motion to certify the closing of that.
Motion to adopt the resolution certifying the end of the local state of emergency. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, Ms. Costello.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly.
Yes.
Ms. Grosskreutz.
Yes.
Myself, yes. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, board members. Moving on to item number 9. In the grants that we write from the With Bland Foundation, one of those was to fund a very part-time additional position at our farmers market. And you will see that here for an addition, if you would approve the addition of this grant-funded seasonal position.
Do I need a motion to approve the addition of the grant funding for a seasonal position at the farmers market? Have a motion.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. This also is going to help us open up a couple of Fridays.
That's correct. We're also going to extend and have some first Friday nights as well.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. The ayes have it.
Thank you, board members. We'll move on to item number 10. You have a request here to waive permit fees for Bland County School Board in the amount of $30.60. This has to do with a 100-gallon hot water heater replacement.
Okay, do I have a motion to waive the fee for the hot water replacement at Bland County Elementary School?
So moved.
Have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Do thank our county guys for giving help put
Yes.
that in. They help the county, they help the high school, the
Elementary.
managers put that in. Okay,
have a question.
okay.
We give ourselves as the county a blanket waiver for this. Could we not do that for the school board at some point?
It's a great question.
We can, we'll get Mr. Castle to pull that up, or do that, because they're all
I'll prepare that for your
next month.
next month meeting, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Costello. I'll make a note.
okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise, the ayes have it.
Thank you, board members. And lastly, this is your added item to the agenda. Item number 11 is to request the board to adopt a resolution authorizing writing a grant application to the Virginia Tobacco Commission. This is very normal when we apply for some of these bigger grants, that we need a resolution from the board saying that it's okay that we apply and that it's okay that I sign for it.
I need to request the board to adopt a resolution authorizing the grant application to the Virginia Tobacco Commission. Have a motion.
So moved.
Have a second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Ms. Costello.
Yes.
Mr. Grosskreutz.
Yes.
And myself, yes. The motion passes.
Thank you, board members. That's all of the action items that I have for you this evening. I would like to send out my great thanks to our fire departments and to our EMS workers and for the house fire that happened in Hollybrook on early Friday morning, as they took care of that family and cared for them in the way that Blaine County is known to do and care for those folks. They've got a long road ahead of them, but they are working through the process right now. So huge shout out to our fire departments. Mr. Johnson was out there, and our emergency services personnel that were on scene for quite some time there at that house fire. They did an outstanding job, and they did Blaine County very proud in a very difficult moment.
Piggyback on that, the Rocky Gap, the Bland, and the Hollybrook fire departments all worked together. I think they hauled 23 loads of water out of the No Business Creek down there in the big vat to put the house fire off. They had to come back in the afternoon and do it too, so they worked well together, them three did.
Yeah,
Each one of them had a job. I mean, they just like clockwork.
Yeah, they surely did. They did a great job for us. Not to also mention our dispatchers that were working to dispatch all those things that happen. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that folks don't know about, and we're really appreciative for our emergency services folks.
And the sheriff's department come down for traffic control. They were there that afternoon and that morning bus, so.
They sure did. That's all I have for you this evening, unless you have any questions for me.
You might have anything for Ms. Burke? If not, okay. All right, Supervisors now. Ms. Costello, you have anything?
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out to this Board of Supervisors meeting. And come back again next month, and the month after that, and the month after that. We'll be here, and hopefully some of you will too. That's all I've got to say.
Okay, Ms. Grosskreutz.
Just appreciate y'all coming out and taking part in the meeting. Keep coming back.
Mr. Kelly.
Just same thing. Appreciate everybody that does the job. Sheriff's Department, all the mercy, when we have something that we seem to recognize them, that they do the job all year round, and we appreciate it.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you for the public comments. If we don't have an answer, hopefully we can find an answer and get back with one of us on Ms. Burton. Also, there's one other thing I forgot to say last month. I'm going to say it this month. Miss Cindy Wright, I've heard people say that she knew when to get out of this stuff and everything. These reports were supposed to be mailed out the 1st of November. We give this group 3 months to go ahead and they need an extension, 3 months. So Cindy would have been in office if the reports that went out. It's probably our fault that we give them 3 months. We might not should have. But Cindy didn't get out just because of the reassessment. She wanted to be there for it, but she announced her retirement back in, I think, July. So I told her, I said, Cindy, I'm sorry I didn't say something last month. So I told her I'd say something this month. She didn't get out because of reassessment.
She is continuing to serve on the Board of Equalization though.
Yeah.
She will serve.
So she's not putting her head down running. She wanted to be there for this, but it just happened that they couldn't get all the paperwork done, they said, so we give them 3 months. Okay, if everybody has anything else, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do all in favor of adjourn say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.